Now, as an extra bonus, let me show you how I put everything together on the final image. I'm going to use the same image that I used for the surreal mist tutorial that's on this course. In that video, I show you how to create or turn water into this misty, smooth, creamy look. And you can see that's what's happening here. You can see that this is the original right here. And what I did is I just adjusted the lightness of this and made it look more futuristic, more artistic. And then I added a building. And so now we've created more like a little bit of a, almost like a little bit of a scene, a futuristic scene. And so what I did from here is I brought in my completed metal collage, which is our robot here, and I selected the whole thing by coming to select all, and then edit and copy merged to copy all the layers. And then I went up here to edit and paste to paste this into the scene. And then up here to edit and free transform. And just to position this somewhere in the scene, make it look like he's sort of standing in the water, or he came through in the water or something like that. Don't remember exactly where I had it, but I'll just go ahead and set this down and confirm that. There we go. And if you look really closely, you can see that the highlights on the robot here are very bright. And they're almost too bright for the rest of the objects and rocks and other things that are in this image. So this is where I like to use the shadow and highlight filter when it comes time for things like this, especially with the metal. It works really well. I'll come up here to Image, Adjustments, and select the shadow and highlight. And watch this. I can turn up this highlight amount, and you can see that'll just start to darken the highlights, almost deadening them just a little bit so they're not so harsh. You can see this is before, and this is after. And I can darken this, or I can control the amount of the shadows, which will actually probably help a little bit if I have a little bit more shadow in there. And to make his feet look like they're really in the water, well, all I did here is just apply the layer mask and use the brush with the black foreground, made a larger brush, and I came down here and just drew a mask at the bottom of his feet to make it look like he's in the water there. There you go, something like that. And then I added some laser beams and all that. And if a lot of you already know probably how I did that, and I used the lens flare in Photoshop for that part. So I can select the robot or make a copy of him on a new layer, so I don't apply the lens flare to our original here. What I can do is come up here, or I'll just zoom into the robot here, but I'll come up here to Filter and select Render, Lens Flare, and then I can position this little lens flare, and I can also adjust the brightening of it. I didn't want to use too much lens flare, and I think if you use lens flare in a good way or in a right way, it won't look bad. A lot of beginners like to jump to the lens flare right away, and so it has sort of like a bad name, but I'm going to place it right here just to make it look like these little spots on each side of his shoulder there are these little lights, and I wanted to just make them lights. Look at that. And then I can come over here and go to Render, Lens Flare one more time, and I can place another one on the other side. And the preview is like so small here. I could have just selected just that shoulder, but there you go. And then you can make some other little beams of light coming off of these lights here. And let me go ahead and try that again. I can make these selections that are beaming down here on the ground, so we can decide where we want those to beam. And like say down here, and I'll go like this, and then I'll bring this right back up. And then I can just come over here to edit. We can go fill, and I can fill that with white. Select to select, and I can move this beam here above all the other layers, or just above these, or just below these color layers here. And I can lower the opacity a little bit and blur those beams just a touch. Bear with me here if I do make any mistakes. I'm just going to lower this opacity down a little bit and blur this as well. So something like that. So you pretty much get the idea, and I can make a duplicate of this beam over here and apply it to both sides of the robot there. I can make one not so bright or not as bright as the other, and we can put it all together. We can keep going with this, and we can do really whatever we want. It's a really exciting project, and I like to just keep playing with it as much as I want. Try different things. You can create baby robots. You can take your collages and flip them around and make them smaller, and you can flip them, and it looks like, you know, you've created two robots. And I'll drag this above. There we go. It looks like his little baby robot that's over here, just kicking back. He's trying to keep an eye on his little robot friend there. So, you know, you just kind of use your imagination, whatever you want to do there. The most important thing, though, is really pay attention to the lighting of everything. You know, if there's no light on this area of the image, then, you know, you're probably not going to want any light there. So you're going to want to tone down the robot a little bit, make him stand over here. So, and there you go. And that's how we can put together a metal collage. And so that's a really cool way, an easy way to create a collage using a sketch by placing that on the background and then creating the metal and rotating and adjusting the metal pieces to create a really cool looking object. So have fun with that. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you guys on the next video.